Yes, guys, we're back again for another club-by-club draft analysis. Today, we are touching on Freo and their draft hand and some of the things that they've done over the trade period as well. I'm joined by Craft of the Draft here, Jonty and Nathan. We'll kick straight into this one, boys. Freo hold picks 14, 30 and 67, but they did hold picks 10, 11 and 18. So they have got Bolton in, of course, for those picks, but they had a very strong draft hand. How do you think they handled that?
It's an interesting scenario for them in general. How do you bring in players and I guess enhance your draft hand? I think you have to give or take one or the other. I don't think they've lost too much bringing in Shai Bolton and giving away those 10, 11, 18 picks. I think they've got an asset they needed in Shai Bolton in the forward half. You're still going to get great value out of 14, which will slip to probably, about 16, 17, depending on the bids that come in. But I still think there'll be reasonable talent around there where they'll be able to fill a gap. So I don't think it's a terrible result. They've got talent there now. It's not like they're a list that needs quick rebuilding. They've got talent they've built. So I don't think it's the end of the world. It's one of those in 3 years' time. Will it have been the wrong decision?
I agree. I think this one's really difficult to judge. I think Bolton is actually the perfect player for them to add because that's where they struggled, right? That forward half, just that punishing player, that game-breaking player. I guess the only thing that I look at with the Bolton thing is that when they're at 10 and 11, you look at a player like a Taj Houghton.
Yeah.
And he's sort of that, projects probably exactly like that Bolton sort of player. Could they have got him and then you've got a bit more value to your list down the track?
Yeah, there's a few reasons why I think that Freo have made an absolutely terrific decision with some of their off-season moves. One is because they've got Bolton in, who is a player that can help them win a premiership in the next 2 to 3 years. I think their list profile suggests they should be at least contending for their first premiership in that time period. If you bring in someone like a Taj Houghton, he's not going to impact that quickly, particularly coming off an ACL injury. The other part of it is the top 10 to 15 players. It's a very midfield heavy draft. They don't need midfielders. They've got Caleb Sarong, they've got Andrew Brayshaw, Hayden Young goes through there as well. I think that's set for the next decade.
They've got some quality and depth too, players like Johnson and those types as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So I don't think they needed the picks 10 and 11, and what they've got back, they haven't slipped too far. They're going to be able to fulfill a clear list need as I see it, and I think with being able to bring Shai Bolton in as well, he's going to unlock the premiership potential, and they're still going to be able to look after the future, and they'll be able to bring in a player who's AFL ready, in my opinion, if they go down the road that I believe they'll go down with those picks.
So let's have a look at it. So pick 14, they enter the draft.
Yeah.
Who are they targeting? What area of the field and why?
Yeah, I think they have to target small forwards and connecting forwards. They're the two big things for me. And you slip out of that top sort of 10 to 15, and there's a few of them that are available. So you've got Joe Berry, Taj Houghton may or may not still be on the board, and Jesse Detoli and Ollie Hannaford. I think one of those is going to fill exactly what they need really well, give them a bit more pressure in that forward half, but also, like you said, that game-breaking ability. Which one of those do they think is going to be able to come in? Someone like a Joe Berry has the work rate to work up the ground, kick it really well inside 50 and be able to use some of those tools they've got like Tracy and Amos really well. I don't think they were necessarily utilised as well as they could have been. So Joe Berry and Jesse Detoli with their kicking inside 50, I think in the medium term are going to be great assets to Freo. So I think you have to take a small or connecting half forward.
What do you think, Nathan?
I looked at a different angle. I'm looking at who's replacing Nat Fyfe. That's just my immediate thought with Fremantle, and I look at a local talent. I look at Bo Allen there, who I think they'll just have natural interest in, real hard-working, knows how to win his contested footy, and has proved all year. He's gotten better game by game. We saw that in the national championships. I just think he'll complement that midfield really well when you've got the likes of Brayshaw, Saron running through it. He's got a different element to it. So I totally agree with the angle you've gone with. I've just gone, how can I be really specific with Fremantle? Obviously, Fife's, I don't know how low. He's probably got one or two more
top
decent years.
He's lost a lot of his attributes.
They've obviously got Cooper Simpson that they drafted last year, but not like for like. But I feel like Bo Allen would mix in really well if he does slip there.
The way I would rebut you, sorry to cut you off, Dylan, is I think Nat Fyfe has been away from his best for the last 3 to 4 years. I think they have actually moved on from him. And despite the fact they missed finals, what they've shown this year is that they are a team that can contend very quickly with what they've got in terms of a post-Nat 5 era, because they would have lost 5 or 6 games by 2 goals or less. They were almost the antithesis of a Collingwood 2023. So I think that they have shown that they've been able to move past him, and that's why I've targeted a different area of the ground. But I do take your points.
I agree with both of you, but sort of in a different way. I don't think they need a Nathan Fyfe replacement because, like you said, he's been out of it. I think Brayshaw, Young, Sarong.
Too vanilla?
Oh, no, I don't think it's too vanilla. I think it's good. I think Hayden Young injects that pace.
Yeah,
but I agree with you that Bo Allen's a good choice because he's so flexible. So you can roll him along half. They've lost Hayden Young from the back line as a bit of pace out of the back line, a good user. He can fill that role. That's sort of what he's been doing for Peel Thunder. Played that role in the Premiership. He will take a little bit of time to develop, I believe, Bo Allen. Like he's one of those... Like when I compare him to the other bigger bodied mids in the draft, your Harvey Langfords and your Josh Smileys, I think he's a little bit lesser on the footy IQ. He looks a little bit more raw, can be a bit more bash and crash when he runs through the midfield and at different times, and probably hasn't put everything together, but he's got extra athleticism that makes him more versatile, makes him more, future-proof.
I definitely wanted to put Bo Allen there. That was my knee-jerk reaction. But then I sort of took half a step back and said, if Bo Allen wasn't from Western Australia, I wouldn't be considering him for this pick because I don't think he fits a list need. I think they've already got what they need in that area of the ground. But I can definitely understand the angle you're taking.
The issue for that pick and putting him to Freo is the fact that West Coast hold pick 12, 2 spots ahead of them. And does he go with that pick as well?
And I think he fits a West Coast list need a lot more than he does a Fremantle list need.
It's interesting. We won't get on to talking about West Coast. We'll skip through to Freo's next pick, which is pick 30, which is in this draft particularly, I think, still a really good pick. Are there any players around that mark that you could put to the Dockers?
Yeah, Tom Gross, if he's one that slips that low. Obviously, I talked about their need for that sort of forward half dynamism. So he'd be one that comes straight to mind. And yeah, that's the area of the ground that I'd still be targeting, I think. I think if they could get... And the other part of it that I'd look at is I'd want a player at that pick 30 that's AFL ready, that can come in and be a part of this premiership push that I think we're going to see in the next sort of 3 to 4 years. So
if we look at that team and we think someone is going to come in and be AFL ready, can you think of someone that gets sort of pushed out? Because I feel like they're pretty strong. They're
Fremantle's current team.
Yeah, the 22 on the field. I mean, you've had Sharp go onto a wing. I think he's doing a pretty good job there.
Yeah.
As one of those wingers. Can you think of anyone that they could sort of push out of the team?
From my point of view, the way I'd answer that question is I'd actually say that I think their style has shown at times, particularly in close games, to not be able to hold up. So it's not necessarily a player that I'd say that I'd remove, but I think when you change your style, there's naturally going to be a shift in positions and a shift in mindset, and you're going to have to bring in certain players that are going to suit the way you're going to have to play a style that's more likely to contend.
For sure. I think another option with that pick 30 will be just to bank a really good tall that slipped through.
Yeah, and I think that's fair. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And I was going to actually say that for pick 67 if someone falls through that low.
Yeah.
Like Max Raw, maybe.
Max Raw. And you even look at some of those other quality players that we've talked about, your Damon Hollows, your Luca Gregos, they might see one of those guys, even a player from the country that might slip down lower. But I think we've covered everything there, boys.
Yeah, pretty content.
With the Dockers. All right. That is a wrap for this video, guys, and we'll see you next time.